Hi, welcome back to the History Channel. This is Tim Kennison. I'll be your host for tonight. Tonight, we are talking about President Nixon and his Watergate scandal. There's much history on how it happened with Nixon and the events leading to his resignation. It all started on June 17th, 1972, when at 2 in the morning, 5 men broke into the Watergate building. This is the official offices of the Democratic Party. The 5 men who broke in were Edward Martin, who was a former member of the CIA, Frank Sturgis, Eugenio R. Martinez, Virgilio R. Gonzalez, and Bernard L. Barker. What they were doing wasn't much of a mystery. Police quickly found out what they were doing there. They were trying to bug the offices. At first, there was no connection to the president until $25,000 was found transferred to the bank account of one of the burglars. Speculation started of why they were trying to bug the offices and if the president was involved. A federal investigation began into what happened at Watergate. It was found out that it was a plot that Nixon may have been a part of so that he could gain an advantage edge over the Democrats in the upcoming election. But a little while after this, Nixon won the election in a landslide of over George McGovern in 1972. But this re-election was not the end of Watergate. On January 30th, 1973, Liddy and McCord Jr., who were close aides to Nixon, and 5 others were convicted of burglary and wiretapping with Watergate. Just a few months later, Nixon's top White House staffers, Hadelman and Ehrlichman, and Attorney General Keitel, all resigned over the scandal. After this, the hearings about Watergate were televised nationally, informing the public. This then became a massive cover-up by Nixon. John Deed told investigators that he personally had conversations with Nixon on how they were going to cover up what happened. After this, prosecutors for Watergate found out that Nixon had secretly recorded every conversation that took place in his office, but Nixon refused to turn over these tapes. Not long after this, as more and more suspicion grew, a very suspicious event took place. This is known as the Saturday Night Massacre. Nixon was trying to fire Archibald Cox, and to do this, he tried to get Attorney General Richardson to carry out the act, but he did not, and instead resigned from his position. So Nixon went to the next in line, Deputy Attorney General William Ruckelshaus, who refused as well, leading to his resignation. After both of these men resigned, Nixon went to the next man, Solicitor General Robert H. Bork, who carried out the request to fire Cox. All this raised suspicion on Nixon even more. He then went on to say, in what became one of the quote that became nationally known, "I am not a crook," as he tried to show that he was not guilty for what happened in Watergate. Nixon released a few tapes after that, but there happened to be an 18-minute gap in one of them. This continued to press for all the tapes to come out. Then on April 30th, 1974, the White House released 1,200 pages of edited transcripts. But the prosecutors wanted the real tapes, not edited transcripts. Later, the Supreme Court had a unanimous ruling that the tapes must be released. And the tapes were released. And Nixon was exposed to the nation. He knew impeachment was inevitable, and eventually, him being removed from office. So on August 8th, 1974, Nixon resigned from office. This being the first time any president has ever resigned from office. As you can see from these facts, that Nixon stepped very far over his bounds as president for trying to be reelected. He later said that the president is above the law, which has shown he believed that is very true. He did not show the character he believed was so important in the president. All to say, he not only resigned, but he left a distrust in the people's hearts for the government, and rebuilding that trust had to begin. Thank you for tuning in. Join us next week as we talk about more presidential scandals and history. Thank you. and have a great night.